Good evening, everybody. This is Matt, and welcome to the Instagram Collectors interview series. This is episode 9 from the Essential Credentials. Really excited tonight because after all the variety that we've had on this series so far, we've really had a lot of collectors who are specifically focused on one or two things. And I thought it would be really cool to bring on someone who can still remain goal-oriented while collecting such a broad range of cards and players. And so without further ado, someone who has been on the round table before, I'd like to introduce Tim. Tim, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm fine. How about yourself? How's everything over there?
Going really well, man. I'm really excited to get back to it. It's been about a week and a half since the last interview. It's been nice to take a little bit of a break and kind of get the guests squared away, but happy to have you back on here, especially after you being on the round table a few times and sharing some of your collecting insights and all the different things. We had the running joke with you of who isn't Tim collecting, but
I know, yeah.
that's hello Alex, welcome. But one thing I will say for everybody that's watching now and is going to watch live is that I think we all work differently as collectors, right? And I can't imagine collecting various players, like 10, 20, 30 different players, because I think so many people who have come and left the hobby, that's what they try to do. And they go, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. I can't keep up with prices and all this. And when I actually asked Alex, I go, how can I get Tim involved here and keep it focused with such a broad variety of what he's collecting? And then I kind of look through your account and I go, you know what? He does have a very specific focus, but he's also able to maintain such a wide variety. I mean, that's got to make collecting more exciting for you, right?
No, absolutely. It's the varieties. It's the spice of life, and
That's right.
That's how I didn't start off that way. Actually, no. That's a little bit of a lie because when I first got back into collecting around 2011, it was Zetterberg, and then that was my main focus, and then eventually it's just evolved into what it is now. So I started with one, and then here I am with the running joke of 30. I also saw a little bit of a clip that you on the episode that you were with on Jeremy, and he said I think he had like 38 or 35, right? And
Right.
I didn't count all my players, but I've got to be at least at 20, And it's funny because there was on Instagram, there was a little bit of a posting from Jeremy's thing, a little segment that he was talking about that. And then I see Brady on the comments. And he says, oh, I know people just like who have 30, just like you. And I'm like, Brady, is that a little shot? But
Yeah.
it's just how it evolved for me. It's the natural evolution of my collection. It's a little bit of chaos, but like it's the title, it's organized chaos.
Right. Well, I think we all deeply want to do that, though. Like, honestly, I wish I could collect, like, I can think of like 7 or 8 goalies right now off the top of my head. I know he's not on a very good team, like Carter Hart, Elvis Smers Lincolns. Obviously, you got Fleury, Tristan Jarry. I did want to collect him at one point. Some younger guys, Spencer Knight, Jeremy Swayman, who's from Alaska. Like, I could just go crazy if I wanted. But I think one thing I'm super curious about is, how are you able to make that decision from Zetterberg, who obviously costs a lot of money to collect? How are you able to stay so broad but also be able to afford everything you're collecting?
Well, here's what it's like, a little bit of mental, right? So here's what winds up happening often that leads me to adding another guy. So, for example, Zetterberg, I collected him mainly for the first couple of years when I got into it, and I just wound up getting such an extensive collection that it's like, what's left? Now here I am, tapping my toes and thinking about, oh, I like this player, or this player is coming up. Let me get a couple cards of him. A couple cards lead into 10, 20, and here I am with a 30 card collection. And then there's a wall on that player. And then I go on to the next one, and I go on to the next one. And I have my own rationale, but that's how I'll be honest, that's how it starts. That's how it evolves.
Right. Is there anything, and we were talking about this on the Essential Credentials last night, in hockey, there's so many iconic moments within a game that can attract you to wanting to collect a player, or it's tied to something with a family member, or it's tied to a really cool card you pulled. Like, can you find a reason behind each and every player that you collect?
Yeah.
I mean, like off the top of your head, can you maybe name 2 or 3 that you were watching a game and this happened, or you and your dad pulled this from a pack? I'd be really curious to hear about that.
Absolutely. There's a couple that come to mind. So, for example, Philip Forsberg, 2014, that's really when he started on the scene as a rookie, had his, I think, Calder season at that time. And I can't remember if it was his rookie year or 15-16, but there was a goal. And I love my shooters. I love my snipers. That's number one. I will absolutely start with that, and then I'll branch out. Shooters, I love. That's who I gravitate to. There was a game against the Washington Capitals where Philip Forsberg is streaking down the left wing and right near the walls too, around 5 feet away from the wall at the top of the circle. He pivots with his hip, twists that stick, and then shoots a top right corner past Braden Holtby. I saw that and I was like, listen, that's the sniper. Because, we all have a vision as to what type of player we want to be. You have a vision as to what goalie you want to be. I have a vision as to what I would love to be if I was a professional hockey player. 6'2", 200-something pounds, right-hand shot, coming down the left wing, snipe it, top right-hand corner, past the glove. So when I see that at Forsberg, that was it. I knew I had to start collecting him.
Wow.
Followed that, there's another player, Anthony Mantha. Disappointing his trajectory so far, but we're talking about moments, right? Similar, it's the outdoor games versus the Maple Leafs in January 2017. So I think it's his rookie season, 16-17. And one of those periods, he's holding the puck at the right circle, top of the right circle, and with the ease of just a fluid shot, he blows it past, I forget who the goalie is at that time, but with just fluid ease, the guy has a heck of a shot. He just doesn't put himself in a position to use it anymore. But at that moment, I love my shooters. I was like, wow, could this be a shooter, a pure sniper for the Wings to be with the Wings for a long term? It didn't wind up working that way, but it was that moment that led me to collect Mantha.
Wow. I mean, I think what you're saying is echoing true in a lot of us. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury, I think, has been the Penguin connection and his personality it's like been building up for years, but I can definitely say the same for my Justin Jefferson collection. I mean, he was doing things on the field, and I was thinking the Patriots game, I think, is the one that completely solidified it for me. The Thanksgiving game, he made that long catch and held onto the ball. The Buffalo game, everybody was talking about it, but it was the Patriots game I was watching live, and I'm like, he's like a dancer on the field, like pirouetting around guys, and he's just so graceful with what he does. So I definitely can relate to that. I think anybody in here that's collecting specific players, there's definitely a moment or two that you witness either at a game or on TV or just watching highlights, and you go, oh man, there's something about that player that's just exactly for me, So just to kind of get an overall scope and focus of the collection, how many, like Jeremy said, he had, what did he say, 29, 27 or something?
I think it was like, as far as player PCs that he was saying, I think it's around 35 to 38.
Okay, so upper 30s. How many, and let's just, I don't know if you counted all of them, but like just off the top of your head, do you know how many different player collections you have going right now?
I mean, like I said 20 a couple minutes back. That might be an exaggeration, but it's not that far off. I would hazard to say 10 to 15. Okay.
And then beyond that, one of my favorite parts of your collection is a very specific type of serial numbered card that you enjoy. Yeah. Really curious to hear, like, where did you get the whole, and again, when I was collecting 90s inserts, we just wanted a copy of the card, man. Like A-Rod was number 3, right? And that's my favorite number anyway. But like, I never was like, oh, cool, it's A-Rod's jersey number. That never was important, at least to the 90s baseball community. Nobody cared. They're like, if I can find that card out of 25, I don't care what number it is. I just want a copy. So my first question is, where did that focus come from
Hmm.
to start collecting jersey numbered cards?
Sure. So I always had it in me for whatever reason. I think I liked it because it kept things a little bit more interesting. It kept things maybe a little bit more difficult. And in that increase in difficulty, there was greater satisfaction when I obtained that type of card.
Right.
So it wasn't as full blown now as it is currently my desire to collect these, but I've always had it in me. I think one of the first jersey number cards I may have gotten was in 2012 of Rick Nash, the Pacific exclusive auto out of 1,000.
Okay.
I was browsing at midnight because I remember this on like my iTouch. Where's it? The iPod Touch. The iPod Touch.
Oh
That's
yeah,
how
there you
long I
go.
looked at it. I
Good
didn't have no
memories.
smartphone at the time, and I was at a relative's house and I was scrolling through looking for Rick Nash, and I saw that 61 out of 1,000. It was a little beat up, but I was like, you know what? I don't have that card, so let me just buy it. It was cheap, and I just wound up buying it. And then it just slowly sprinkled on, find one here, find one there. But it wasn't until 2016-17 of me collecting Aho, Mantha, Puliarvi at the time, Zaka, and I was on the Upper Deck EPAC platform, just scrolling on through. And at that point in time, I had just gotten a different type of job, so I had a little bit more money, and things were a little bit stagnant in my player PCs. And I said, you know what? I'm going on this platform of Upper Deck EPAC, and I said to myself, let me just see what I can find. I scroll on the backs of each cards, and I wound up finding so many jersey numbered cards. And then it was from that point where I had such a great amount where I said, you know what, this is something that I'm going to do, and it's going to be permanent. And it just, from that point on, that's where it took on a life of its own. But where I am now, I never thought it would be where it's like jersey number, jersey number, jersey number. It started as a
Right.
curiosity, and then it's like its whole thing now.
Well, and it's kind of fascinating for me because I watch a few specific breakers on YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think of other than Fulton cards. He's my favorite because he says nothing about value unless it's like a mega card, and he's like, I'm not selling my collection, but here's what it's worth. But
Yep.
guys like him, and of course Ziri, we all know him. But
Hmm.
great day for hockey cards. And all. Anytime they pull a jersey numbered card, and then there's Pac-Man, which I think most people know who he is on YouTube. He breaks all the really big football products and basketball products, but they all talk about, oh, I hope it's jersey numbered. I don't know if it's something in a specific sport, but why do you think, especially in hockey, it carries so much weight? Because almost everybody now on eBay, if Marc-Andre Fleury has a serial numbered card and it's 29 out of 100, it
Uh-huh.
is being mentioned right off the get-go. And I think I only own one or two, including the titanium gold, like the really shiny gold one, not the retail. Just happened to come across it and it was cheap. But why do you think, especially in hockey, there's such a big focus and like a prestige with these cards?
Mm, well, I think it just sort of goes back. I don't know. I mean, when I think hockey, and while I do venture out into other sports, I love other sports. I get this personal feeling like hockey collectors are heavy PC, like player oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they start off prospecting, and then they come into the league on their team, and then they follow them the whole way through if the player stays. But I just get this feeling like we're deeply attached to our players in hockey. Could be the same for other sports. Maybe it's because it's like I have these hockey lenses that I'm looking through because I love it the most. But when you are focused on a player, you want to be maybe as attached to that player as you can. So if you love that player by association, you become very familiar with their jersey number. And if you want to have a really great PC, I'm not saying you need to have jersey numbered cards, but it's a nice little wrinkle into your collection. And so I think like in having that and looking for those cards, it just maybe creates a greater attachment to the player collection as a whole.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about this on the previous roundtable episodes about the jersey numbered focus on the cards, and You're right. I like that you mentioned that it adds like a tougher task for you to try to complete with a player collection or a set collection. You are currently working on a very specific 3 sets. If like we talked about pre-show, there's 3 different versions of this set from Panini Titanium, which is a previous Pacific brand.
Mm-hmm.
Any reason why you keyed in on, and I'm going to pull up a picture of that for everybody to see from your page, but what was the reason for keying in on the Titanium jersey numbered cards?
Sure. So where it started from was my first Titanium card of significance was that Philip Forsberg to our left. It's 9 out of 11, so it's not 9 out of 9. That one is on eBay, 9 out of 9. But I saw that on Facebook. I got it, and when I saw it in my hand, I loved the design. I loved the shine. The whole thing just stuck out to me. Mm-hmm. Then fast forward a couple of years later, I get the Jonathan Huberdeau draft position out of 3, and again, I look at the design and it just strikes me, right? It speaks to me for whatever reason. And then I find out that there's jersey numbered parallels. And at that point in time, like I told you, I had already loved jersey number cards, period. So then when I find out that this set that I love the design for has another parallel that features jersey numbered, that was icing on the cake. That was it. That drew me in, and then I decided to just go for it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, visually these cards are stunning. Mm-hmm. I have a second Leland Irving of this on the way, and I can't wait to find his jersey numbered version so I can give you your first Leland Irving card in your collection. But anybody that's seen these in hand they're especially this set right here.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing the Jocelyn Thibault in person. I couldn't take my eyes off how beautiful these cards are. So,
yep.
I mean, you definitely have an aesthetic that you target, and I think it's just interesting to hear about, how that set stood out to you amongst the others. Name, welcome to the show. Good to have you on here, man. So we've really discussed kind of the breadth of your collection. It's quite expansive, but it's also it's got to, for me, just thinking about it, it's got to keep it fresh no matter what's coming in, because there's times, and we player collectors know this, sometimes there'll be like 20 flurries listed in one day, and they're the same ones that ended right before that. Mm-hmm. And there's no variety, you know what I mean? Like it's the same thing, and so that does become stale a bit. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely understand why you do it and why you have so much fun doing it, because you're not. It's not like you're collecting everything from all these players. You're collecting specific cards, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you're going after. Mm-hmm. What collection out of all your player collections is the trickiest for you to navigate, as far as maybe it's really expensive or it's just tough to find the cards you want? Is there anybody that comes to mind?
I'll throw. When I think of that, when I hear that question, I think of like difficulty and the player collections in my collection that have progressed the least over a long period of time. So the first one is my Kopitar collection. I have been searching Kopitar every day since 2011. Throughout that time, I didn't have the money to pick up a lot of the higher end stuff. So, those had to take a back seat in the early years of my collecting days. But even regardless of that fact, whenever I search Kopitar in the past 12 years, I see the same things over and over and over again. And it gets a little boring, I'm not going to lie. So that's one that really sticks out to me. Another, and Brady's going to like this, because Brady has all the Datsu cards that are missing. But Datsu cards are also, being that his rookie year stuff is not a lot in volume at the very least, and I love focusing on just the rare stuff, that one is a little hard for me to progress because I'm just down to the select few where there's only 50 or less. Out of 100 or less or 50 or less, that's the metric that I use for rarity. right, to focus on.
Right.
Those
Okay.
two players, highly difficult to progress forward.
Well, I guess.
I'll
Oh,
throw in a third one. Not to
yeah.
cut you off. I'll throw in a third one. My Aho collection. Um, Part of it is the fact that, you know, I have such an extensive collection already, but you were talking about cost. The cost of Aho has greatly increased when I started collecting him in 2016-17. Granted, it's for a good reason. He's an all-star player. He's a
So
top
good.
center in the league. 10, 20, whatever. That's up for debate, but it increased his price. So with that one, it's like the remaining cards that I have, like the Young Guns Acetate. It used to be a sub $200 card, around 150 when it first started. Now it's at its a price on its own, 7.5 to 7, whatever, graded.
Wow.
That plays a factor. But Aho is another one where that's a little harder to progress as well.
Mm-hmm. He's still undervalued in my opinion. I kind of dabbled in that for a bit, and it was too expensive to do it, continue it, and I had to sell it. I sold it to a big Aho collector, so I was very happy about that. But yeah, I noticed that he
the guy
was
in Finland. Was he in Finland?
No.
Okay.
He's on Twitter. I posted my collection for sale on Twitter, and he bought it. Daniel not Gilchrist. Vincent. Yeah, that's it.
No, I sold him a couple of Aho cards myself.
But I will say one card that I always wanted to own that I never did, and we almost both bid on it. Funny enough, was the Ultra Purple. We've talked about that card a few times, and that thing is
out of 5. Oh no, the purple out of 25.
Was it 25? Yeah. That one. It's just a stunning card. Good. Well, let's hop into some of those cards then, and then I have a question that's not on our list that I think would be a fun one to ask you. So let's jump in. Like you started the year again. You've already got all these different collections going on. Can you think back to any main goals that you wanted to achieve going into this year?
So, shout out to Brady again. Every year, I start off with the main goal saying, "Oh, I want to get the Datsun Titanium out of 13." That I start off big.
Good. Go big or go home, right?
Exactly.
You got to do that.
But then as far as goals for this particular year, it was to just start off with getting as many of the dual jersey numbered of the Titanium cards as I can, be it Pacific or Panini. Okay. And then a recent card that I've been thinking about that sort of began another collection, which is my Sedin Twin personal collection.
Yeah, that's right.
I love the 98-99 SHL dual jersey auto, and that is another one that coming into the year is like I want to get it. Now there is one in the Swedish card website, but I never knew how expensive this card would be. I didn't know. So when I had it as a goal, I was like, maybe it's attainable. I knew it would be somewhat expensive, but we're talking at a level I didn't know. So for example, when you convert the cost into US dollars from the Swedish website, it's around $1,000. So just for that card alone. And that's a goal of mine that I have. Whether it's this year, next year, whenever, those two cards, they motivated me. The Titanium dual jerseys, that was another goal of mine. And and lastly, it's always to find Zetterberg cards that I need because it's down to a slim few. And depending on how everything goes later in the year, I might have some big stuff to show. And who knows, I might show it on this show it off on this podcast or this this show.
On our YouTube on the roundtable, yeah, we've got some exciting things coming after this interview series kind of wraps up for a bit. But do you have any cards that you've picked up this year that you find to be pretty significant, ones that you're surprised that you were able to pick up already that you'd like to share with us?
Oh yeah, sure. So that
put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. I have some already out.
And I do want to tell everybody that asking Tim to go through his entire collection and put piles together, it was a bit of a task. So thanks for doing that, Tim. We appreciate it.
No problem. You mind if I just step away for like 20 seconds?
Yeah, go for it. So I got a question for the chat here. I know we've got Name and Alex in here. What do you guys do when the eBay searches are running dry? Like, how tempted has everyone been to go and start their own, like another side PC? Because I feel like that's something that we, I don't know, I struggle with at times where I'm like, what other goalie can I go collect? You know, should I go over to Spencer Knight? Should I go Jeremy Swayman or somebody like that? So I'm kind of curious what people in the chat do in those situations. We'd love to hear it. Oh, and Al's here too. What's up, Al? Welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So what you got for us, Tim?
All right. So I struggled a little bit because I tried to not go into the little stack that I had already. So I'm choosing three that I didn't originally have out in the open. So I had to go in my boxes. And three that I was pretty surprised to pick up throughout this year. And we're talking about my new Sedin Twin PC is these cards in particular. So we'll start off with this one first. This is the Young Guns exclusive out of 100. I think this is 99-2000. I might be mistaken. But yeah, it's out of 100. Now, for me, I never really went for Young Guns exclusives, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw it, you know, and then I'm tracking down Sedin, I figured, why not go for it? So that's what wound up happening.
The prestige around those exclusive Young Guns is huge. If you get a Young Guns, getting the exclusives and the high gloss of Leland Irving was like, you know, astronomical trying to get it done, and being able to find them was pretty special. So yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you were able to get that.
And then with Leland Irving, it's not like there was a lot of cards to choose from. So to have that is like the pinnacle.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, and that right there, getting the exclusive of his Young Gun, I mean, that's like the rookie to try to track down. The high gloss, I think, is too unobtainable for the average collector. But if you pick a guy, especially somebody who's not, you know, in the top 5% of card sales, you can maybe track down an exclusive of just about anybody. So yeah, good pickup.
Mm-hmm. And then the other two is a pair that I had gotten recently. And this is the Prime Choice Reserve Sedin's out of 100.
Those are so tough, Tim.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm surprised. Like, I've made a lot of good headway with my Sedin cards at a very early stage. Like, I'm still an infant when it comes to collecting these cards, you know. And what I loved about starting that PC was two things. I started it because I have a great affinity for cards from my youth. You know, I'm a 90s kid, born in 1990, and I loved 0102, Datsu, 0203, Zetterberg, you know, and I wanted a reason to get into a little bit of the late 90s and 2000, 2001. The Sedins were it. I have a great collection of Swedish-based players. I sort of gravitate that. I'm a Red Wings fan. You know, it's just within my blood. So that was another thing. But never did I really guess, just in general, that I would have picked up such hard-to-find cards so soon when I started collecting it. And that's why those strike out to me. That's why I chose those.
I'm glad you picked them, too. And that's the reason I had that question on there. I just think, you know, when we set out goals, it just helps us focus so much as a collector. I think, sure, we could kind of meander throughout the hobby, just picking up this and that. That's exciting, you know what I mean, of our players that we like. But I think when you really put together like a want list, or you know what types of cards you're after specifically, somehow it just manifests itself. You know what I mean? When you are that dedicated and you're checking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and eBay and Mercari and all these other places, it will happen for you. And you know, you've done such a good job of building up a really strong community within the Instagram community that we have going. So before we get to your like total showcase segment here, I mean, what is it about, you know, Instagram and that community that enhances your experience as a collector?
So first, Instagram, the sheer exposure of cards, it's unmatched, because it's literally, you'll be scrolling forever and you'll be seeing so many different cards. And you know, I don't just follow hockey collectors. I follow all of the sports. If you give me a follow, I'll give you a follow. That's just how I operate. And I happen to get a lot of baseball, football, sometimes basketball. And you scroll, you're going to see cards that you've never seen before. And maybe a design might strike out to you, and you'll learn something in seeing those other collections. So that's something about Instagram that immediately strikes out to me. Another thing, as far as community-wise, I mean, I love jersey number. We've been talking about that. There's a couple cards in my collection that I got because of people reaching out to me on Instagram because they know that I like the jersey number collection. Numerological serial thriller. There's a couple of cards in my collection. He loves it too, as far as jersey number, that I would not have known had he not showed it to me first. And it goes about that little bit of respect, understanding what he likes and him understanding what I like, because he doesn't have to send me those cards. He collects jersey number. He can have those cards for himself. But it's this respect that I see from him and others like him, where we reach out to each other because we know what we like to collect.
The selflessness amongst the Instagram community, at least, I think because we're all like-minded like that. You know, we've got Alex and Name and Al and Kelvin jumped in for a bit here. You know, everybody, including everybody that's been on the roundtable and beyond, I feel like we're all surrounding ourselves with these selfless collectors. And I mean, it's infectious, right? I mean, you see people helping each other out. You want to be able to be the one to like hit that person up with a link. And and also, you know how awesome it is. I mean, you know this feeling when a card comes up, even if you have it or not, right? But it's within your scope of your collection. And you get like 9 or 10 PM saying, hey, do you have this? And you and Alex have done that a lot with Kelvin. Guys, everybody hits me up the same flurry. It's like, it just goes to show, while there's always a little bit of competitiveness amongst all of us in the hobby. I think everybody's just as happy seeing a friend get a big card as they are getting one for themselves, you know? So I think that, I mean, you're you know, preaching to the choir, man. I think that is right up with what makes this community so amazing. And it's fun to see. I will say, a little shout out to Tim here. His photography skills, almost got tongue twisted there. Your photography skills have definitely improved, man, because I know we were having a discussion about how frustrating it was. You go, my phone is a potato. There's no way I have the same phone as you, and this is what my pictures look like. Has that helped you enjoy posting a little bit more? Because I've noticed that you've really got some good shine going on lately.
It has. And, you know, over time, you just try different things, right? Whatever you have in your house, you try to, you know, MacGyver things or whatever. I've had this thing around for a long time, like a little light, right? Just like this. It gets dark. You want to flash it on something. It's there for whatever that purpose is. But then I thought to myself, you know, I'm getting a lot of these cards, these titanium cards. The natural sunlight on this particular card is not enough to bring out the shine on those cards. So now I go around, what do I have at home? I find this. Now I put it on the card. I have one phone in my hand. And I'm trying to do it like this. I'm trying to hold my breath, trying to make it not be wobbly, because that's one thing I struggle with. And I'm like, wow, I see now this thing is bringing out the shine. And so that enhanced the photography for me. You know, just trying to see what you can jerry-rig around the home.
I've definitely had this light, and I've kind of like, you know, done it all these different angles, and I've taken pictures of cards because the angle was right of the light, like a card upside down, and then you rotate the card, and then you kind of get it, you know, at the right angle, and you know, I think we put a lot more time into photography on some of our cards than I think a lot of us admit, but that's part of the fun. I do want to show some answers to the question that I threw out there. I think, I get close. There's a set I actually want to start going for. I'm like on the verge of doing it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, how is that going to compromise me? But I started thinking about that because for like the 14th or 15th day in a row, I hadn't seen a flurry that I needed or didn't have. But this is a good point here. And then Alex has also said, you know, it's a slippery slope. that's what moved me from just collecting Bargnani, Grabowski into the Wild West that my collection is at now. And variety is the spice of life because it does give you something else to hunt for. And that's why I kind of joke. I wish that the Seattle Kraken would draft like a goalie in the first or second round, and he would maybe play a game or two, and then he'd be in everything but be cheap. Because then that would be like it again. If it doesn't pan out, oh well, there I've spent wasted or $200-300 getting all these cool cards of his. Maybe the high gloss was like 100, but everything else was cheap. All right, well that's too bad. Maybe he'll go do something amazing somewhere else, but. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that opportunity. And then Kelvin, yes, yours truly. He was here for just a minute. He's going to watch the rest later. And then Al said, when things go dry on eBay, I think of it as a bonus. I get to save up for those expensive cup cards. Yeah. And yeah, I there's a checklist series 2. The checklist just dropped. I don't know if you checked that out, but there's this new set called Highlighters. And it's there's multiple colors of the players from the set, and they're really tough. Even the base ones are like 1 out of 120 packs or even higher. So they're really tough, and Fleury got into that set. So thankfully got in there. So I'm just like, every time I don't buy something, I'm like, I'm saving money for this. This is great. But do you ever struggle with that at times, Tim, where you again, because you're talking about seeing all these great cards on Instagram and all that, oh, that could be a great one to find of Datsuk, or that could be a fun one to find of Sedin. Do you find like it's especially with how big your collection is, do you find like it's hard sometimes to say no?
Yes, that's like one of my biggest issues that I honestly do deal with, because my scope is so broad. There is always something for me to buy. I just don't have I don't have a black card, so it's not like I could just buy everything. So with a limited budget, it's a natural thing. And but even with having a limited budget, it's really hard to say no, because sometimes fear of missing out. It is what it is. It's being a collector. You go on eBay. My eBay watch list is full. It's at 400, for real.
Okay.
And if things go on auction, like for bid, 7-day bid, and not buy it now, the buy it now is I can push aside. But if things go on auction, then I'm at the mercy of, do I say no to this and miss it? Or, every day is like a prioritization game of what I want to buy versus what I can hold off. And sometimes these bids, these open auctions, they force your hand sometimes, and it's hard to say no.
They do. Fear of missing out, the FOMO, is by far the biggest reason that I've had dilemmas collecting Marc-Andre Fleury, because his prices still seem to kind of vary all over the place, depending on whether it's Penguins or Vegas or whatever. But I could definitely relate to that. I have a question for the chat, and then we're going to jump into Tim's showcase segment and then our questionnaire at the end. For the chat is, how many items are on your watch list right now? I like honestly want to. Tim said he's maxed out, so it's not like you're going to beat him on that. I want to say I just deleted a few. I think I have about 240 items. It was about 300, and it's slowly been dwindling down, and I've taken some things off. Like, why do I still have that on there? But I'm still over 200, so 240 is where I'm at right now, which is, I mean, I don't even know how, but I think, with the Jefferson stuff and Glass now, it's, you throw a card in there that you're like, one of these days he's going to drop the price, they're going to drop the price, and this card's still sitting there at $100. You're like, dude, seriously? Come on. But yeah,
so many of those on my list. Like cards that I've had for maybe over a year.
Right. Well, and then how it goes too. You get like a little bonus from work, or you sell a card or something, and you go and find that item that you haven't made an offer on in like a year, and you're like, let's see if I can do it. And that happened during the Christmas break for me. You remember? It was like the premier pad in that Canada quad patch tag card. That thing was incredible. I'd had that on my watch list for so long. So yeah, really, really happy about that. Alex. That's actually more than I thought, so I'm impressed.
Ooh,
162. All right. Nice. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I wonder if there's another hashtag Team 400 that's going to show up and watch this episode later. That would be interesting to hear. I wonder. Let's make a prediction, and then we'll show some cards. How many items do you think Mitch has on his watch list right now?
I'm going to go with 200. Around 200, give or take a little bit, but I'll go 200.
It must be so hard because there's so many cool Cup cards. I mean,
Yeah.
especially some that he's like, maybe I'd like to own. I'd really like to own, and I've got to own. He's too bad you can't make categories. Right? Our watch lists are so big. I mean, I know they have them and you can sort them, but I would like to see it go further so you could do like your own custom watch list. Where you have like the high priority, low priority. Just stick it in there, see what comes in a year. See what happens in a year. See if you get an offer or not. But whatever. He kind of Mitch has 68.
Oh,
I know what
wow. Oh,
that would
okay.
have been. Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah, that would be interesting to find out. So let's see. So you've took the time to pull out a bunch of cards to show us, and you're just going to kind of show us usually over 300. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right now, which is impressive because you have almost everything of your
Yeah.
players. But you're going to show us groups of cards that represent each of your collections, right?
Yeah, or just that shows the variety of that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, go ahead and just grab each pile and tell us what it represents, and I'd love to see some of the cards you got.
So, um, I'll start off with the one that we did a little bit of a sneak peek between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
One set that I love, and I love cards that everybody loves cards that are aesthetically pleasing because it's pleasing to them.
Right.
For me, one of those sets that I consider such is the Pinnacle Epics. So it could be Epics Game, Epics Season, things like that. And here I have a trio of not just hockey. Nope. Let's try it again. Not just hockey. This one I pulled. This Van Beesbrook I pulled as a kid.
Awesome.
But going to shows, I found this one at my local show, and Andrew Jones for a short time. He was a Yankee. I loved the set. It was cheap. I'm picking it up 10 times out of 10. And then I found this one on Instagram. And I think this is maybe one of the lower numbered ones. And it was cheap. I went for it. So when I can, I try to focus on other sports, not just hockey.
That adds even more variety. That's awesome.
It does. Mm-hmm. And it's funny
Very
because
good.
I did have even more baseball and football cards that I started as far as the overall group that I had to narrow down. There's some other football cards in there too. This one, I'll probably put it in the sense that I put this small duo or group because I love high-end cards like we all do, but I also really do love my low-end stuff. And so I chose this little pair to show I'll go as high as I can, and then I'll go as low as I can. So here we have my Dylan Larkin one of one masterpiece, right? His rookie. So I had that, I think, for maybe 3 or 4 years now. I got it from Penguins Pirates, so shout out to Pens. And this one is probably I got it from ComC for $1. And this one I chose because, if you are on ComC, whenever you buy a card, you're going to have leftover ComC credit. You'll never come out away making an even purchase with what you have.
No.
You're always going to have a little bit left over. And if you have a shipment coming, for me at least, I'm like, okay, I have $3 or $5 left in my account or something to play with after the fee of shipping. What can I buy? I literally scoured ComC looking for older wings because I have a small little collection of low-end, nice-looking Red Wings inserts. And so I went Yzerman, Lidstrom, Shanahan, Osgood, and Topps Gold Label. It goes without saying. It's one of the most beautiful cards and sets out there.
Yes,
and I got
agreed.
$1. And I spent literally an hour or two just to find this card that's $1. So I'll put in the same amount of time hunting these high ends and rares as these low ends.
Awesome.
So
That's important, and we've talked about that. It's important to keep a collection fresh too, is appreciating the little cards. You know what I mean? There has to be an appreciation, and you can do that with the 90s, especially. I think aesthetically, those cards offer a lot more than most of what Upper Deck offers. I will say stature and Gold Label, I do find them similarly pleasing to the eye. So I'm really glad that Upper Deck has a set like that just even the base cards look awesome. in hand. So
Yep,
shout out to Upper Deck and whoever designed that set because it's amazing.
I
It's
agree.
amazing.
And we'll go over here as well. This one has a little bit of another sport sprinkled into it, and titanium. So this is my titanium little group, right? So here I have. Let's start off with this one. Manny Legacy, 2001 blue, 34 out of 34. Let's get that. Yep. And so with this one, I have other rare cards, but the reason why I put this for variety's sake, set collecting has introduced more Bruins cards into my collection than I would have ever liked or hoped for. As a
Yeah.
New Yorker, it's against the law for me to have any Boston cards. But this is
Yeah.
dual jersey numbered. It's what is it, 51 out of 51. I have to get it. It's it's what I do.
Right.
So that adds a little bit of variety. And this just came in today. We're talking about having a hard time saying no. I got a little bit into like my madness and started searching for other sports of titanium. I found
Yeah.
this basketball card, 25 out of 25. I got it for $50, the most I spent on a basketball card in my life, but it's dual jersey numbered, so I had to get it. You know,
Right. Well, PJ is a decent player too, first of
and
all,
he,
but
yeah,
it
he
is
is.
kind of neat because of that. The whole jersey number thing, you really could expand into all four sports with that. You really could.
Yeah,
And Panini's making that titanium set for basketball and for football. They unfortunately don't do it for baseball just because they have to kind of limit their releases when it comes to baseball. But you could easily go and look at mosaic parallels that are jersey numbered or prism or whatever. So, oh yeah, you definitely have created an avenue to expand rather than
yeah,
super focused. So that's a good thing, right? You're never going to get bored in the hobby this way, which is
impossible.
the big reason I wanted to have you on here, so you could really show collectors like how to collect on a really big scale, but also do it within a budget and keep it interesting, even though it is kind of, like you said, controlled or organized chaos. It's
Yeah.
good.
Let's see what else do I have here. I'll start off with this. This is another batch. I should have narrowed it down a little bit more, but this is what I love to do when it comes to my PC players. If they are from outside of North America, let's say from Europe or Sweden, Finland, what have you, I personally love to collect their Euro cards, their non-North American cards. So here I
Okay.
have a little stack of autographs from just my some of my PC players. For example, Philip Zadina, although he hasn't panned out, this is an awesome card for me. This is from his Czech set prior to coming to the NHL. Peter Sikora, who I think was actually a Red Wings draft pick, not to be confused with the Peter Sikora who played for the Devils. This one he stood overseas pretty much his whole career. Another one, my Zibanejad collection, um, also paired with this card. There's only 30 of these. So I love to just collect European based cards or non North American based cards. Pavel
Mm-hmm.
Zacha, another Czech collector, I mean player, and here's one of Kopitar from Sweden because he played in the SEL prior to coming here in 0607 and 0405 Zetterberg.
Can you show that Kopitar card again? That's one of the most beautiful looking
Mhm.
overseas cards, and that's on card too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Man,
And
that's a great
this
looking
is
card.
his look, this difference in his signature is also notable too. So before coming to North America and signing all those cards, he
Right.
had a different signature.
Okay, that's wonderful. I have to say that I know Alex can attest to this. Is some of those overseas cards are amazing. You know, like the colors on the jerseys.
Yeah.
I've looked at a few Danny Taylors. He's a goalie that briefly played in the NHL. He was drafted by the Kings. He has some cards from overseas, and the colors of the jerseys are really cool. He's got big chunks of stick on the card. I'm like, man, this is so neat. So I can say for without a doubt, if Marc-Andre Fleury for some reason he wouldn't do this, but if he somehow went over there, or I liked a rookie who didn't pan out and he played overseas and had cards like that, I would instantly be grabbing them. So That's good. Well, we have. How about one more? I know it's hard to limit you because
Mhm.
you've got so much cool stuff out, man. But how about one more stack that you got back there?
Okay. I'll start off with this. Let's do this. Um, I'll give a quick shout out to my show stamped cards. I love that. That's also a different variety that I choose to go for. But I love oddball stuff as well.
Okay.
Um, that is what makes things unique for me. I like unique stuff. So,
Oh,
for
that's cool.
example, this is here we go. This is Philip Forsberg draft ticket from the event itself. Panini had these tickets made. He comes to the draft, gets drafted, goes to the back, signs these. Panini disperses these however they did at the draft. So I'd like to collect that. This one, shout out to Brady. He's been trying to get this off of me for a little bit. But this one in particular, this is a draft redemption from 2001-02 Bowman Youngstars. And while it's not serial numbered, I think it's out of 10 or less. I love things like that. I wish, like oddball stuff would be integrated more in today's. Maybe we have a redemption card for a full size jersey or something.
If we still had Panini in
it.
hockey, it would happen. I bet, right? If we still had Panini around, I feel like they would be the ones to do that.
And I mean, Upper Deck Authenticated, they do good stuff with the draft. They have good stuff, but I just wish it was like integrated with the, pack release stuff. That's what I mean.
Right. Oh, definitely, man. I just like the Panini tickets there. Like those would be such. If Upper Deck had those as redemptions for the top 30 pick or every first round pick. I know that they have like the draft boards from the Cup. They've done those in the past. This one Leland Irving I still need to get. But I think there's hockey offers such a unique opportunity to put things like that because it's a smaller. You're on a smaller market, right? You're in a smaller market. You're not going to be trying to please everybody in the football market or basketball, which is just. I don't think they would have an appreciation for that stuff as much. They just want to get the 50 parallels of Lonzo Ball's rookie card and grade them and sell them. So, in general, this just seems like basketball community is so different there. So, yeah, I love seeing the all ball stuff. I'm really starting to branch out there, and I think as a Al can attest to this, and of course, Alex with his Grabowski collection. You really have to get creative sometimes if you're focusing on, these players, and you start getting to the end of your want list. Like, okay, now what do I do? So I've looked at magazines. I've looked at. I have one signed jersey, which I don't want to frame and put up in here quite yet. I need more space, but I have one, and I can't wait to see it framed up. But yeah, well, good. I'm glad that you did show that. I definitely have an appreciation for those types of things. Al said, would any of the European cards have player signatures using characters from the player's native language, i.e. different than an English version?
Well, I mean, none that I have in my collection feature that. Not even KHL. I'm trying to think of some KHL cards off the top of my head. I know that Alex, he has the Tarasenko KHL rookie auto. I don't think that features, an autograph in that particular language. Some that speak to mind. I have, like, for example, a Hideki Matsui autograph baseball where he signed it in Japanese.
Right.
So that's what I can think of. But as far as card-based, I haven't come across any like that yet so far.
The only one I can think of came to mind as soon as Al asked that question. Now, it's not a European card necessarily. It's a Between the Pipes. If most people that are here, I would assume, know Asian hockey card collection. And he has a how do I say his name correctly? He was a Japanese goalie, and he signed some of his Between the Pipes autos, the stickers, in Japanese.
I think it was from like 0607. The LA Kings guy.
Yeah, is it Yutaka Fuka? How do I say?
I don't know.
I gotta look it up correctly now.
But I know who you're talking about.
Fuji. There it is. Let me say it correctly here. Yutaka Fuji, and he did sign a few of his cards, and I was so happy that I found one on eBay. I had it as a safe search, and after I saw how much they went for, I'm like, this needs to be in your collection, dude. This represents like the goalie collection for you, and so he was able to get that. So that's the only one I've ever seen. Funny enough. All right, let's hop into our questionnaire, Tim. Let's do it. Again, these are like 30 to 45-second answers max. So let's try, because we want to try to keep a good pace here. It's so hard because all these questions could be answered in depth. I think we all agree, but let's try to keep this kind of rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In your opinion, looking at what Upper Deck is doing, what is the best type of card that they make, in your opinion?
O-Pee-Chee Platinum Seismic Gold Parallels.
Love it. Short and to the point. Those are incredible. And every time O-Pee-Chee Platinum comes out, which I think Fleury's going to be in a Blackhawks uniform in 21-22, that's going to look amazing for sure. Name one card that your collection still needs.
That's what?
Name a card in your collection, or name a card that your collection needs.
Oh, that. Okay, name a card in my collection that I need.
Yeah, one like yeah. This is kind of like another way of saying, like, number one on your want list type deal. But
Okay, what? Okay, shout out to Brady. Young Guns acetates. That's, I think, if you're a player collector, you need Future Watches, Young Guns. For me, I love the acetates. I'll go with that.
Nice. And yeah, Brady has the entire set almost. He's working on the most recent one. So, and SPL Fan is coming out in less than a month. So, yeah, hopefully he can start tracking some of those down. What's an account on Instagram that you, every time you log in, I mean, I think we all know the obvious answers. We know that you and Alex are great friends and have really helped each other out in the hobby. So let's try to think a little bit beyond like the inner circle of friends that we keep. What's another account that you, every time you log in and you see that they've posted something new, who are you like, oh, yes, sweet, let me read about what this card's about and whatnot?
I have two.
Okay.
Numerological Serial Thriller. I actually have notifications that he's the only one I get notifications for. I go to him, and another one that I enjoy looking out for is Pop's Collection. I think that's Pop's with a Z.
Yep.
Collection. I love his stuff. He has great variety as far as Red Wings cards, low, high end, beautiful looking stuff, shiny. Those are the two that I really look out for.
And shout out to Pop's Collection. That is Nick. He was on the original roundtable. I asked him to come on here, and he said, I got a lot going on. The collection's kind of slowed down, but he just his 90s collection, and he's expanded into.
Yeah.
I do want to. Did you see he bought a stature card, and he's like, I can't believe how beautiful these are, dude.
Yeah.
So he's slowly kind of worked his way out, but man, what Nick has done from his dad's sets that he built. There's one to show you. He's just got a beautiful collection, and those are two accounts that I highly recommend everybody to follow. So great shout outs there. What is a card that you miss the most?
All right.
Not to bring back any painful memories, but we all what's one card?
Let's see. I'll just throw this out there. Prior to Huberdeau failing the season as he has, I did have the Prism 1 of 1 Ice Blue Parallel, the one that came sealed, not out of the packs, but I had the one that somehow was a redemption. I had that. That's painful to remember. One card that I miss, I'll throw this out there. I did have the Sebastian Aho Young Guns acetate back in 2016-17. I did not know about the chipping on the top edges. I thought mine was damaged. I asked for a refund. Turns out the majority of the print run have that damage. I wish I had it back. I missed it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Perfect answer. In what way do you enjoy spending time with your collection? Like, how do you find enjoyment when you're just kind of sitting around and do you sit around and look at the cards? Do you go to your Instagram page and kind of scroll through? How do you enjoy the cards that you have?
I enjoy by taking them out maybe once a month or so. I have them all in these boxes that are very easy for me to pull out, and I'll just go through them. I have one that's in like a Pelican case. I have the top of my top in this Pelican case. I enjoy taking those out, going through it. So I like to feel, to touch, to see the cards. So scrolling I can do anytime, but they do exist. So I like to just once a month chill, watch a game, have a cup of coffee, whatever, and enjoy it that way.
Okay, awesome. What is a piece of advice that you would have for a new or young collector getting into the hobby now?
I actually enjoy that you asked me that question because we've been talking about variety is the spice of life. I'm a man of extremes. For me, it's all or nothing. It's who I am. I can't run away from it. What I would say is, do not start off like me. You. I'll be honest. Do
That's
not
good.
start
It's
off like
good.
me
Yeah.
because with that, you wouldn't know you would have too many things, and you would get bombarded, and then you'll just flame out. I start off small, evolve, go through the motions. You'll end up finding what you enjoy collecting at some point if you're in the hobby long enough.
Right. And many people have echoed that same sentiment that you just said. What's up, Trevor? Good to see you,
Hey,
dude.
Trevor.
Thanks for popping in. All right. What is and we I can't remember. Were you on the pet peeve episode with us?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. So from there to now, is there a pet peeve in this hobby that stands out as you going, man, this is still one that sticks with me?
So I remember my answer. It was eBay cards. It was eBay searches when you do a search for a player, but yet you get so many different players in your search. That's a pet peeve of mine
Yeah.
because sometimes there's some guy who may be doing automatic listings and he forgot to change the name, and then
Yes.
boom, I search for Dylan Larkin, now I'm getting every other player under the sun. Sometimes basketball, football, for whatever.
Yes.
So that's a pet peeve of mine.
Okay, that just happened with me. It happens a lot with Justin Jefferson. It happens a
Yeah.
lot with him.
Mhm.
Just like, dude, like just going and they must be listing hundreds of cards, and I get
Yeah,
it. I
exactly.
used to message people and say, hey, this card's not. Say, oh yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, I'm not fighting that battle. So yeah, that's a big one. I've definitely seen that a few times. All right, where would you like to see where would you like to see your collection? Like, how would you like it to look in 5 years?
Okay. In 5 years, man, naturally, I need to slim down a little bit. So a little bit, I go through the ebbs and flows of needing to be more focused. So if I had a vision, it would be trim the fat. Um, but I would also like to have a really nice, large titanium dual jersey number collection. That's what
Okay.
I'd like. That's what I want to do for here in the next 5 years.
Okay, and I like that. I mean, it's a broad focus, but it's also a specific focus. So you know that there's going to be this overarching goal that's going to continue through each and every year. That's awesome. The last question about you is when people come across, and I want to show everybody Tim's page here, Red Wings 11 or underscore. Let me get to the correct one. Here it is. So when people come to this page and then have some time interacting with you, I mean, what impression do you want people to leave with as far as when they see this page, when they talk to you, and so forth?
Mm-hmm. So that I have, a broad, first of all, passion. I love it. I wouldn't be doing it for as long as I have been doing it if I wasn't raised on doing it myself through my father. He brought me into this hobby. Um, just the sheer scope of maybe the years that I range behind. We're going from, for example, the Sedines, 1997, 98, all the way to present day.
Right.
Um, you know, Things like that. The variety, the knowledge, the passion, things of that nature. The type of players I gravitate to, you know, hopefully you can see that. Um, those are the things that I would like people to come away with.
I think you represent part of the community that is always happy to lend a helping hand or a word of advice. And if I ever came across someone who's, more specifically said, I'm trying to narrow my focus, but I like collecting all these different players, I would immediately say, go have a chat with Tim and hear how he doesn't collect everything of every single player. He has a specific focus within these PCs. And
Yeah.
I think that is a really fun way to collect but you have to focus it, right? There has to be focus within the chaos of collecting 20 plus players. And there's not many people that can do it. So I think you definitely deserve a lot of credit in being able to manage that while also picking up some sweet cards here and there, maybe a jersey number card of a player. like PJ Washington. I mean, that
Yeah.
never thought I'd see that, but I'm glad that you did, because you get to kind of experience cards in another sport, and there's a lot that each sport has to offer that's unique. And so, yeah, that's be interesting to see if that happens again anytime soon. Yeah, it'd be pretty neat. But yeah, thanks again, Tim, for all these quick answers. I've got two more, and these are kind of more fun. And I'm glad that you haven't really studied too many of these, because a few of the people that have watched all these episodes knew these were coming. But first question is, tell me your favorite thing about Marc-Andre Fleury.
All right, so I would sort of piggyback off of what you like him for. One of the things, the personality, it does stand out. The mere fact that he took the time to show you that video, make that video for you as a shout out to you, that's top notch. I mean, I think a lot of people would trade in a good portion of their collection just to have that experience. I mean, we collect these players. It would be nice to have a positive personal experience with the player that you collect.
Well, and you got to experience a positive personal collection or connection with the player just today, right? I mean, I did want to give you a quick chance to share that. Talk a little bit about how, like, from the beginning, like if you could give us like the $5 version, how that all came to be with you and your dad today.
Sure. So today in New York City, there was an autograph expo featuring a lot of old time basketball players from the area, old time Knicks. Allen Houston was there.
Great shooter. Wow.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So we had a lot of those good Knicks over there. But my father, growing up where we grew up here, Jason Williams, controversial figure for the reasons that you may or may not know, but we won't get into that. He, as a young boy, teenager, my father played basketball with him. And there's a lot of stories that my father told me about, positive experiences that he had before going into the NBA. My dad, I find out that there's that expo. I look at the roster. I see Jason Williams. I say, Dad, we got to go. I buy the tickets. We go today. My dad goes up to him without my dad even saying a word. Remember Jason Williams. Remember my dad. And
that's awesome.
I got an autograph photo from him. We took pictures with one another, and we had that personal experience. The fact
that's
that
great.
An athlete remembered my dad from 30 years ago, maybe 40. Right. That's an awesome experience. And he was a joy to be around. Very engaging, very personable.
Right. And I think that is one thing that I'm happy to see it in basketball. I feel like we're so lucky as hockey collectors, because if we have a connection with a player and we're to see him down the road, I feel like hockey players are very much like your average Joe. You know what I mean? They're just, they don't have all the fame that a LeBron James and Lonzo Ball and Messi. Oh gosh, Ronaldo. I mean, was there a video where he got like mobbed?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe what drew me back to hockey and has kept me here, and I'll be here forever. Is even a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury, who is so beloved by so many fans. He could probably walk down the street and nobody's going to say anything to him, and that's got to be good for him and for us, because I feel like if I saw him, I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Nice to see you, and that would be that. So, yeah. All right, the last question, kind of a bonus question, and then we'll wrap it up. If you, off the top of your head, what's a question that you would ask me, like kind of putting you in the interviewer's chair? Throw me a tough one, or throw me a question.
Okay. If you had to step out the realm of goalies, what would be a player in hockey that you would collect?
Right. Matt Boldy for sure. It's obviously a little bit of bias. I was just thinking about that. I was telling my dad, I'm like, yeah, I kind of would like to collect Matt Boldy. He's an American-born player. He's a goal scorer. He's young. He's got so much upside, and I really enjoy watching him play. Even when he went through that dry spell when he wasn't scoring goals, he is always in the position to make a play or to score a goal. He's always within something big happening on the offensive end. And so I think for me, he's a guy that I would really enjoy collecting, that I feel has a ton of room for growth and can be an all-star as soon as next year, even the year after. So he would be one. And then if I was going to pick a legendary player, because I'm a right-handed shooter, would be Pat LaFontaine. He was a really, really good player in the early 90s. I mean, didn't he have like a 60-goal season or something like that? I'm trying to
I
think.
don't remember for sure, but I know
Or
that
50 something.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, he would be a guy. He's got some really cool cards in the cup too. That would be fun to. Yeah, good question though. I've definitely thought about Matt Boldy though. I really have. I mean, he's got so much, and I would be like you with that collection. I would probably pick like 15 to 20 cards to go grab. So yeah, great question. Well, Tim, it's been a pleasure having you on here, man. I love hearing stories about, because I dream of doing what you're doing. I know I just can't afford it. And I also know that there's so many cool Marc-Andre Fleury cards yet to come out that I have to save money for that. And then my Jefferson collection and a little bit of Glasnow cards here and there. But, maybe the circumstances will change and you'll be the first one I come to. Okay, Tim, I really want to collect these players. What cards do I look for? So be ready for that. And I'm excited to have you back when we start the roundtable up. Really enjoyed having you on before, and then look forward to having you on in the future. But any closing thoughts on your end?
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me on. I do enjoy getting back to this. It's a breath of fresh air. Thank you for everybody who's watching and who will watch once this video gets posted up. Never hesitate to reach out to either me, Matt, or anybody else, other upstanding members in the community. I'll always try to answer the questions whoever throws in my way.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time, Tim. Really enjoyed having you on here. I want to give a shout out to Trevor, who was in the chat, Alex. We had Kelvin here, who's going to be watching after the fact. So Kelvin, hello. I'm sure you're watching now. And we've got, of course, Name that joined us as well. Next episode is going to be coming up on the 29th. I'm going to have Aaron, who is Crease Collector, come on here. He is a big Jonas Inroth collector, huge part of the community and Center Ice Cardcast. I'm really excited to talk to him about what it's like to collect a player who, wasn't super popular and doesn't get a lot of new cards. And so I'm really fascinated to hear kind of on the opposite side of things, Tim, like he could probably do what you're doing, but he's gone off and got photo bomb pictures on the cards, like where Inroth is in the background or getting scored on. He's sent cards to the photographers to have them sign them. I'm he's really taken the oddball side of things and stretched it as much as he can. So yeah, going to be exciting to talk to him. And hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend. Take care. See you guys.